Jason, are you there? There's a long delay. I need a haircut. 2 seconds there, sprung out gamer, there's a bit of a delay. Is that you, Jason, or is it someone else? Two seconds there now. I need to change something. Two seconds there now. I need to change something. Two seconds there now. I need to change something. I'm trying to figure out how to share the screen, but the software is not cooperating. I'm trying to figure out how to share the screen, but the software is not cooperating. I'm trying to figure out how to share the screen, but the software is not cooperating. I'm trying to figure out how to. So Chromium is basically the open source project behind Google Chrome. It's what like thousands of developers have come together and they built this open source web browser, and basically Chrome is Google's like spin-off of it, where they add on a couple more features like auto update and like some other Google features. They built this open source web browser, and basically Chrome is Google's like spin-off of it, where they add on a couple more features like auto update and like some other Google features. They built this open source web browser, and basically Chrome is Google's like spin-off of it, where they add on a couple more features like auto update and like. 2 seconds there now, there's an echo. I need to fix that. I should probably have a pair of headphones as well. Okay, it works now finally. So I'm basically, so whatever you see within the window of the web page is two main things. It's the Blink rendering engine and the JavaScript engine called V8. We'll start with the Blink rendering engine because it's a bit simpler. So there's like the implementation of like how the browser parses HTML. So web developers would write HTML, and basically they'd write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, build up the front end of their web page, and the browser renders that code into pixels on the screen. So there's this is the HTML implementation of the browser, and then all this code here then is compiled into an executable called Chromium, which is basically a web browser that we all use. So I'll go to the HTML document parser file. Look, see, there's the HTML document parser.h. It's basically the how Google implemented HTML parsing, which is quite interesting, I think. This is C++ now. It's pretty complex. Like it doesn't get like coding doesn't get much more complex than C++. Well, it doesn't. It can probably can, but like C++ is pretty complex because there's pointers and memory management and other complex features. But it's what makes it so powerful as well because you have that kind of control. So this is the function prototypes. They're basically the first time the function is declared. So this is the header file. So look, there's loads of function declarations and attributes down here, which are booleans, which are true or false, and integers between 0 and like 2.14 billion or something. Just whole numbers like 0, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then there's the source file, which is basically the implementation of the function prototypes you've seen earlier on. So when you've seen a function, it was like they just declared the signature of it like that, and then it just finished it. But here, look, you have the curly brackets in between. That is the implementation of the function. Here's like it returns. It's probably a boolean. Just seeing because like has the user seen or whatever. It's pretty complex. I'm still wrapping my head around it. Like it's very like an if statement. Basically, if whatever within these brackets is true, then it will execute this. And else means if that's not true, execute this. That's in all programming languages, I think. Well, most of the like proper ones. Const just means it's a constant, so it's like it's set once and the value doesn't change. And basically, when you see this is a pointer because it has this operator on it here, which basically operates on the pointer. And a pointer is basically just something declared on the heap. It's normally a pointer is just a programming language like construct that holds the address of something in the heap. And here's it's just declaring, it's just invoking a function on that object that it's accessing using the pointer operator. I don't know the full name of it now. 2 seconds. Is someone still in the stream? Jason, you still there? You can hear two voices. Okay, that's strange. Okay, I turned off the sound, so it probably shouldn't. So this is so like here is the constructor of the HTML document parser. I know it's the constructor because it basically specifies the class that it's accessing, and then it's the same name as the class. It's basically just a special function with the same name as the class. And a constructor is called when the object is created. A class is a blueprint of an object. Yeah. So basically, everything you see on the like in an object-oriented programming language, a class is the specification of an object which is later instantiated somewhere else in a separate class normally. So if we have class, so if we had class person, and it had a constructor like this. There's ways to like this would normally be the class. The definition would normally be in the header file, and then there would be void print name, void set name, std string name. So basically what these are function prototypes, and basically these are later called like this. So person print name, so these are public attributes, so they're accessible outside of the object. Public, yep. Private, std string name. So basically the print name would basically so basically that would print the name out. Like if this was a console application, it would print it out in the console. So if you wanted to set the name, we could basically std string. This is passing by value. When it's like that, there's also passing by reference, which basically just means after adding an asterisk after the object is declared, so like that. Not an asterisk, but ampersand. Sorry, a pointer is then an asterisk. So that's passing by value if it was declared on the heap. And then there's if we wanted to write name equals nm, it basically sets the name in the class, the private attribute, to be equal to whatever we pass in through this what's it called again? Argument. This argument basically is passed in as an argument, and then it's declared like this. So this is C++, so it's pretty complex. So that's basic object-oriented programming with C++, and then there's booleans, and then there's like special keywords like this, which basically means to access the object, the class that we're instantiating. So if you wanted to access the class that you're working on while you're in that class, you would write this. Return basically means when the function is called, it basically executes whatever computation or calculation it needs to perform, and then the result is basically returning that value to that variable. So this function returns some sort of maximum value, which is an integer. Static means that it holds its value between function calls. Yeah. Then there's null pointer, which basically means nothing. Like it's just an empty pointer value. There's false. So basically all these, when you see all these like assignments after a constructor definition, it basically just assigns these default values, whatever. So like is parsing a line number is assigned the value false every time this constructor is called. But like you can specify, like later on, you're going to call the setter of that variable and change it if it's not constant. And if it is constant, you have to specify it as mutable later on in the class. So this would just kind of stop the function call. If it was stopped, it would just return nothing, which would just stop the execution. It would stop it here and then it wouldn't execute the rest of this. So we're looking at the document parsing of HTML in the Chromium browser. This is just an if-else. An else if is just an if after another if this isn't true. If this isn't true, it performs another if check. Yeah. So these are all like function invocations, basically just the function that you specified earlier on, but calling that function. And then it's working on a pointer, which means that it returns a pointer and it operates on that return pointer. It calls another function and does the same thing again, but it passes in some arguments in this time and it stops. And then it just sets this boolean value to true. Then if this this is pretty complex. Like we're building a web browser here. This isn't the easiest place to start, but like if you're interested, like there's loads to learn. Like so basically, a for loop is basically just for every variable. So the type of variable it is an auto, which is kind of a special keyword, which means it's just a variable, but the language, the compiler will detect what variable at compile time. And then there's the identifier, which basically means within this for loop, if you want to access the variable that we're iterating on this iterable here, the the so see speculation is accessed here, so that identifier was accessed within the for loop. So basically what's special here is that identifier can only be accessed within the for loop. So within the brackets of the for loop, it can only be accessed, and then it calls a function on this pointer, this special pointer, which is like, or just it's a reference to a pointer, I think. I could be wrong there, it could be reference to a pointer. Tokens.size, it just calls the size probably an array or some sort of vector, sorry. And basically a vector is just like a sequence of objects, a sequence of classes, just one after the other, and like you can kind of iterate each, so you're going through each object that's in that iterable. So if you had like people, like a vector of persons, then I go this person, that person, that person, that person, and perform some sort of operation of the class of that person. Jason's gone. So anyway, whoever finds this interesting, I hope you find it interesting. That's enough for now. For now, my mind's very blown. Okay, perfect. Thanks. Bye.